Hey, welcome into this case study looking at, as a franchise owner, franchise operator, how can you look at your finances in a different way, and using the kind of the processes that we have in CEO Finance Academy, how can you improve the business and that of your franchisees by focusing on your finances? So we brought in Stephanie today to look at what is this like from a franchise owner's perspective, and why focus on the finances if you're running a franchise yourself. So Stephanie, thank you so much for coming in. I really appreciate you taking time out of your very busy schedule to do this today. I would love for you to give someone who's listening the gist of your business, kind of how long you've been involved in it, and tell us about your franchise a little bit.
Okay, perfect. We are Gideon Math and Reading. We are after school math and reading centers for children aged about 4 to 12. We have been operating since 2004, and we started franchising in 2012. And we have 20 franchise units, one corporate store that we still operate, and we have about 10 licensed center from our old model.
So cool. So you've come to this with a decent amount of experience as the operator. It sounds like about 10 years of kind of franchise experience. Why did you decide that now was a time to focus on the financials of not only your own business, but also looking deeper into your franchisees?
So probably really COVID was the impetus to rethinking everything in terms of our revenue channels. We were just selling the booklets, and we decided we needed to add a royalty to improve things, because with COVID, obviously everything changed and we had to relook at everything. The cost of printing booklets, our curriculum, went way up, and I didn't move fast enough, frankly, to get on top of it. So I really wanted someone to come in and help me reorganize, and then what to do to properly use the extra revenue to grow our staff, which was, we've been understaffed for a little while. And then also get not so dependent on the corporate store. The corporate store is very successful, and it's run by my mother, and she's great, but she's not going to want to run it forever. And I need to basically not need to pull from that to support the franchising, make sure all those things are set up properly. And as we move towards the future, so it's a bigger part of a long plan, but I was just finally ready to implement the things I've been thinking about for a while. And I didn't feel like I had a handle on everything.
Yeah. Well, and I know that you run in a lot of entrepreneur circles who run franchise type businesses. What are some of the concerns that you see amongst franchise owners right now on the financial side of, like, what is it that gets them worried about things, or what is it that you see in conversations around finances?
So what I've kind of figured out, because I really wasn't getting in depth with my own franchisees before this year on their own finances, unless they asked me to. I was a little bit more hands-off, partly due to low staff, partly due to just having a focus on the education part of our business. So I realized, well, when I started having these conversations, a lot of people just didn't know. If they had money in the checking account by the end of the month, they were happy. And if the number was large, they were happy. And if the number was small, they were unhappy, or they had to add money. It was a very simplistic way. And then, so every expense, such as like marketing or like the rent going up, it only felt like a huge negative, as opposed to trying to analyze the alternatives and all of those kinds of things. And they really needed to see how much are they spending in operations? How much are they actually profiting? Because they would sometimes panic over maybe a small rent increase, and they'd want to move. And I'm going, no, let's analyze the whole thing. So just stuff like that. I realized they needed a better education on it. And I just didn't feel like I had the right vocabulary, the right tools to do it. And I needed to get my own company in really tip-top shape with the, post-COVID. So first got my ducks in a row, now moved on to the franchisees, and just educating them so they understand. Some of them are really profitable and really didn't understand how profitable they were. So that's been helpful.
Well, and as we looked through some of the, high level numbers of things, it's like, wow, you can help them understand how good really looks for a lot of them, especially as you looked at your top ones. Wow, we're killing it here. How can we help the other ones move up? And it was really cool to see those numbers, from my perspective, from an outsider's perspective, to see, oh, wow, they're doing amazing with this, and this. It's like, oh yeah, interesting. Let's help them understand that, because oftentimes they're newer business owners when they're coming in to work with you as well.
Yeah.
I'm super
Usually
curious. I haven't
first
asked you
time.
this, so this is completely selfish of me to ask you, but what was it about working with CEO Finance Academy, or in your decision-making process as you were trying to decide if we were the right fit? What was it that made you feel like, yes, this is a leap I want to take, and we were the right ones to help you?
So ironically, it was a video like this. I went to your website and I watched all the other testimonials, and one of the owners, I don't remember who now because it's been months, talked about how the stress of not having a solid handle on everything was just distracting and it's taking up too much of the attention. Like you could be building other things. And that's kind of how I felt. The emotional part of it, you were like acknowledging and like, yeah, we need to relieve this stress, as opposed to it being just mechanical. There's an emotional side to letting someone look at all of your books. As a franchisor, I get audited, and that's hard enough, but this is like, they don't really make it pass a judgment, they just put their report together. I stick it in my FDD and we call it a day. But you're really kind of like looking at everything and challenging me appropriately, at different places and making me think about it. And I could tell there was a lot of empathy and compassion when you talk to people. And so I just felt comfortable opening myself up literally from these videos. I watched probably every single one on your website. That's why I was very willing to do this myself.
We appreciate you taking time to do that. A lot of people will say, yeah, this is kind of like business therapy. And
Yes.
honestly, it kind of has to be when we start to look at the numbers, because all of a sudden, all the guilt and all the feelings start to rush out about your financial situation. And it's so funny to me, and I've mentioned this in our calls, when things are really good, it's actually really hard for entrepreneurs to let themselves feel good about the finances, even when they've made huge swings in a positive manner. And it's like, yeah, but I'm not perfect yet. It's like, gosh, let's enjoy the progress. And you have made so much progress. You've done an amazing job. But it is interesting how much that emotional side of things plays into looking at these numbers, and that the therapist background in us allows that kind of conversation to happen. So I'm curious. I know someone's listening right now thinking, well, what does she mean? What is it actually like sitting down and working with them? How would you describe the actual process of working in CEO Finance Academy to someone who's considering it?
So it's very relaxed. You're like a very friendly guide, right? You bring up the spreadsheets and you're like, let's analyze what's going on. And you look at all this and you're like, and here's the formulas of what you should be putting to taxes, what you should be putting to savings, how much should you be paying off on the credit card. That's one thing. We have large machines and we have obviously a loan on them. And it's whenever I would get an influx of cash, the debate is, do we invest this in another staff member or some other way, or should I pay down debt a little further? I listened to Dave Ramsey so much, I was like, gotta pay that debt down. And what I really should be doing is you take part of it towards the debt and you take part of it. And I didn't know how much. So that's how I felt, like very friendly, very relaxed. You never made me feel guilty or stupid. Honestly, I know I'm a smart person, but I think it's a mild fear of mine when I don't have something as under control as I would like, that I look stupid. And you never made me feel that way. It's just like, all right, let's fix this now. Let's get our ducks in a row. That kind of thing. Very friendly and relaxed.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words, but also I think that there's this component of every entrepreneur feels like, if you're a successful entrepreneur, meaning you've grown a business to a level where now you're working with employees, or especially if you're a franchisor at this point, you figured out a model that works and you've expanded it outwards. You're really good at a lot of things. You have to be really intelligent and great at a lot of things to make a business like this work. And so when there's one slice of that business where entrepreneurs feel like, I am not completely on top of this piece, there is this fear of like, I feel stupid around this and I don't know who to talk to. And I go to my CPA and they say all these words and it's like, I know I should understand this, but I don't know half of what you told me. And I don't feel like I can ask you because you went, a mile a minute and now the call's over and I don't know where to go. And so we actually get that from a lot of entrepreneurs. You're in very good company with that, where, a lot of people just feel like I should know this. I don't, I'm stupid. It's like, well, where would you have learned it? Nobody taught it to you. And if it hasn't been something that was maybe a strong suit previously, well, now it can be as we work our way into it. And I think what's cool is you mentioned this kind of on some of our last calls. If you look at the progress that you've made in your business, you've been able to learn this stuff. Like it's all learnable skills, right?
Yeah,
Just like the marketing, the
sure.
sales, the operations side of the business, this is all learnable. And so I'm curious what you feel like you've learned through this experience. Like what are the takeaways for you, if you will, of, okay, coming out on the backside of working with us in CEO Finance Academy, what do you have better clarity on now? Or what do you feel like you understand better now about your business versus before?
Just to not be, for number one, the biggest one, just not to be so reactive. I was dealing very much like in the moment. What does the checking account look like right now? What can I do with that money? And you're kind of like, nope, let's get the bookkeeper to close the books. What happened last month? Let's very methodical, put this money here, put this money here. And also probably just have a better cushion operationally. I was probably running it a little too tight to try to pay down the debt faster, Dave Ramsey style. And it is a better, but that was stressful in and of itself. It was, you'd have these conflicting things, which way to go. And I feel like you've like set the plan. This is how you do it. Just apply the formulas, apply the spreadsheet, and you don't have to think. Like I kept saying, I get on with you and I can like relax. I don't have to think as much because we just plug the numbers in and the formula spits out what we're supposed to be doing,
Yeah.
So it was a lot of analyzation and thinking and rethinking. And when should I pay this? Or and I was thinking about it so often. And now it's so much more relaxed. I don't think about it every day. I'm not concerned that I'm not as on top of it. So I have a plan. I didn't have as much as a plan as I should have had.
Yeah. Well, and I love it too, because you've just gone through, some of those machines that you mentioned just had some expensive repairs. It's like, hey, we can sit down and create a plan around that isn't so emotional. Like, oh crap. It's like, hey, let's go look at how can we absorb these costs? How can we plan this in? And we've got a plan for the next year of what things look like to be able to deal with the highs and lows. And that's ultimately where CEO Finance Academy came from for us, was how do we create consistency in a business that just inherently there's going to be ups and downs? How can we smooth out that curve so that you can take care of things like taxes and saving for the future and investing, but also paying yourself consistently and feeling like you have enough reserves in the tank to weather that kind of volatility. So I would love to know, moving forward now, what do you feel like you are better prepared to face in the future within your business because of what we've done together and because of the better handle that you've got on the finances? How does the future look better or simpler or clearer for you moving forward?
Yeah, definitely much simpler. Just figuring out how to monitor all my input costs. We have a lot of line items coming in, and we've like readjusted what is actually cost of goods. What am I actually paying, having a cost for printing a booklet, and getting that much more an understanding of that, so I can monitor how high and low it's going and react a lot faster. I've been reacting so slowly to the COVID changes that came at us like a ton of bricks. So it's, I feel much more prepared to either deal with economic issues, coming forward, instability there, or even like we got the huge repair bills last week. It was like, okay, I can figure this out. I paid half of it right then because I knew what I was able to do, and I wasn't in a panic about where we were about everything. I'm just so much better prepared for the inevitable problems coming my way. And I won't even call them problems, situations.
Look at that entrepreneurial positivity.
That's right.
my last question is one that we get asked a lot by people who are deciding whether or not they should work with us. And it's one of ROI. Yeah. And I know this is hard to quantify. Yeah. And when people ask me, well, what's the ROI of working with you? I'm curious for you, what do you feel like the ROI has been? Maybe it's a dollar amount, maybe it's not, but in terms of what is the return on your investment, both in terms of time and money, what do you feel like the ROI has been for you?
So the most immediate one is time, just mental space. I am not thinking about the finances every day. I used to probably be a very day-to-day, at least every couple of days, wondering, should I go on and take care of this now? I was just, like I said, very reactive to what was going on. And now I can relax. I can spend my time growing the business. I am not thinking about it all the time. I'm like, well, we're getting on with Alex. I know he's got a plan for me. And then once I'm doing it on my own, I know I'll just use the spreadsheets. So, and I'm waiting on the bookkeeper to finish the month, and there's just nothing to be done, just relax and keep moving forward, type of thing. In terms of dollar amount, I don't have it, but it's like 10 times, you know, like I don't really think about that, but this was a true investment because we've made a lot of changes as a franchisor this year, and trying to set us up for growth. I read the book Traction, and a lot of business owners read this, and I'm trying to reorganize. And I got a professional coach to help me, grow as an entrepreneur, as a franchisor. And it only made sense to get a financial coach too. So I was actually actively looking and came across your ad and then all of that. So the return on investment is huge. It's a major investment to just settle everything out and get us better prepared as we move forward. And I never honestly knew exactly how much should I be saving here, how much should I be paying off debt there. And so now it's like I've got the plan. So enormous return on investment.
Thank you for that. And it's really cool. My favorite part of this whole thing is honestly when people feel like, yes, we can make the numbers all make sense, but like you mentioned, time and the mental bandwidth that it takes to worry about this stuff. It's like, well, what if we could free you up a couple, 5 hours a week of time that you wouldn't have to be worrying about this and you could go focus on growing the business? What would that do for you to have that an extra few hours, or be able to go home and not feel that like constant stress and pressure on you of, oh crap, I got to make this work. What am I going to do? And I've been there as an owner where, you're waking up in the middle of the night worrying about, oh crap, did I do this? What about this? And I feel like that has been a payoff for us. And so every time I see that for people that we work with, I just love that. And you can actually see it. And, because we're on calls one-on-one, I can feel it when we get on there. And it's been so fun to see that for you, that lightening almost of the load. And then it does open up opportunities for, hey, how can I get creative with this? How can I change my pricing here? How can we add in these services here or there? And we can focus on that side of the business rather than just the managing of the right now all the time. And so it's been fun to watch that sort of bloom for you as you've gone through things. Well, Stephanie, thank you so much. I really appreciate you. I'm curious, for someone who's like, oh, this actually sounds like you've got a really cool business yourself, Stephanie, where can people find more about you and your company?
Oh, if you were a parent wanting to enroll your child, you could go to GideonMathandReading.com, which is GIDEON, mathandreading.com. If you were wanting to open your own education franchise, we have a website just for that, which is GideonFranchise.com, GIDEON franchise.com. So both of them link to the other ones, of course, too.
Very cool. You've got such a unique business. And every time I tell my wife, we've got this cool business that's doing this, she's like, that sounds like such a meaningful business. It's like, yeah, it is. It's so cool what they do. And I love the model that you've got and the level of support that you give to your franchisees. I get to see on the other side of it, right? The level of support you give to them. And it always amazes me. So thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us. And if this has been useful to you listening on the other side of this, go give a thumbs up to Stephanie on her website, or tell her thank you for the time that she spent to let you in on the behind the scenes, if you will. So thank you so much, Stephanie.
You're welcome.